Nathan Rivers gripped the steering wheel of his weathered pickup truck, his knuckles white with tension as he navigated through the crowded streets of downtown Chicago. The morning sun cast harsh shadows between the towering buildings, but Nathan barely noticed the cityscape around him. His mind was focused on one thing: getting to Riverside Elementary before the school nurse called him again about Sophie. His phone had rung 20 minutes ago during his shift at Chicago Memorial Hospital. The school nurse's concerned voice still echoed in his mind. Sophie's breathing was becoming labored again, and her inhaler wasn't providing enough relief. As a paramedic, Nathan understood exactly what that meant. His 7-year-old daughter needed her nebulizer treatment, and she needed it soon. Traffic crawled forward at an agonizing pace. Nathan checked his watch for the third time in as many minutes. The specialized medication Sophie required cost more than his monthly rent, but he had managed to scrimp and save enough for this month's supply. What worried him more was the consultation with the pediatric pulmonologist that his insurance refused to cover. Sophie deserved better care than he could afford on a paramedic's salary. The light ahead turned yellow. Nathan calculated the distance and pressed the accelerator. He could make it through. Sophie was waiting. The collision from the cross street, a sleek silver Tesla Model X, surged forward, its driver apparently making the same calculation about the yellow light. Nathan saw the vehicle too late. He slammed on his brakes, tires squealing against asphalt. But momentum carried his truck forward into the intersection. The impact wasn't devastating. More of a forceful meeting between his front bumper and the Tesla's passenger side. But it was enough to deploy both airbags and send Nathan's coffee cup flying across the cabin. For a moment he sat stunned, his paramedic training automatically assessing himself for injuries. Nothing broken, though his chest ached where the seatbelt had caught him. Then reality crashed back. Sophie. He was going to be even later. Now. Nathan fumbled with his seatbelt and pushed open his door, which groaned in protest. The Tesla's driver door opened smoothly, and a woman emerged who looked like she had stepped out of a business magazine. She wore a tailored charcoal suit that probably cost more than Nathan's truck was worth. Her dark hair pulled back in an elegant twist. Even in the chaos of the accident, she moved with the kind of confidence that came from never doubting your place in the world. Victoria Sterling surveyed the damage to her vehicle with an expression that revealed nothing. She was used to problems, and she was used to solving them quickly and efficiently. What she was not used to was some reckless driver in a barely functional truck crashing into her during one of the most important weeks of her career. Words. Like weapons, do you have any idea how fast you were going? Victoria's voice was sharp, cutting through the sound of gathering traffic. Her gray eyes fixed on Nathan with an intensity that made him feel like a specimen under a microscope. Nathan took a breath, trying to calm his racing heart. I had the light. You ran the yellow. I entered the intersection legally, Victoria countered, pulling out her phone. I'm calling the police to file a report. Fine, call them. Nathan ran his hand through his hair, frustration and worry making his voice harsher than intended. But I need to make a call too. My daughter is sick at school, and I was on my way to pick her up. Something shifted in Victoria's expression, a subtle softening around her eyes. Your daughter is sick? She has severe asthma. The school called because she's having trouble breathing. Nathan pulled out his own phone, noticing the cracked screen for the first time. Great. Perfect timing. Victoria lowered her phone slightly, studying Nathan more carefully now. She noticed the hospital ID badge clipped to his shirt. The exhaustion evident in his face, the way his hands trembled slightly. This was not a reckless driver looking for trouble. This was a father in crisis. What hospital do you work at? She asked, her tone less confrontational. Chicago Memorial. I'm a paramedic. Nathan was already dialing the school, his attention divided. Look, can we exchange information quickly? I really need to get to my daughter. An unexpected offer. Victoria made a decision, the kind of rapid calculation that had built her technology empire. Get in my car. Nathan looked up from his phone, confused. What? Your truck isn't drivable. The front axle is damaged. Victoria gestured to where his vehicle sat at an awkward angle, fluid leaking onto the pavement. I'll drive you to your daughter's school. We can handle the insurance details later. I don't need charity from someone who just crashed into me, Nathan said, his pride flaring despite the practical impossibility of his situation. This isn't charity. This is efficiency. Victoria was already walking back to her Tesla, which, despite the dented door, still looked perfectly operational. I have a meeting in 40 minutes and standing here arguing wastes both our time. Your daughter needs you now, Nathan hesitated, every instinct telling him not to trust this wealthy stranger. But Sophie's labored breathing echoed in his memory, and practical necessity won over pride. He grabbed his medical bag from the truck and climbed into the Tesla's passenger seat. The interior smelled of expensive leather and subtle perfume. Victoria programmed the school's address into her navigation system with swift, practiced movements. As they pulled away from the accident scene, Nathan called the school to let them know he was on his way. "I'll tell Sophie I'll be there in 10 minutes, he said into the phone, his voice gentler now. Yes, I have her nebulizer. Thank you for calling me. Victoria drove with the same confidence she carried herself with, navigating traffic efficiently. How old is your daughter? 7. Sophie's 7. Nathan watched the city blur past, still processing the surreal situation. She's had asthma since she was 3, but it's been getting worse lately. Has she seen a specialist? Nathan's jaw tightened. The wait for a pediatric pulmonologist is 6 months, and that's if I can figure out how to pay for it. Insurance doesn't cover what she really needs. Victoria was silent for a moment, her mind already working through possibilities. She understood medical challenges in ways most billionaires did not. Her younger sister had died at age 9 from complications of cystic fibrosis, a loss that had driven Victoria to focus her company's resources on medical technology, innovation. Reaching Sophie, they arrived at Riverside Elementary School faster than Nathan would have managed in traffic. He barely remembered to thank Victoria before rushing into the building, his paramedic training taking over. The nurse led him to the small medical room where Sophie sat on an examination table, her breathing rapid and shallow, her lips tinged slightly blue. "Hey, sweetheart," Nathan said softly, kneeling beside his daughter and unpacking the nebulizer. "Dad's here now. We're going to get you breathing better." Sophie nodded, unable to speak, her small hand gripping his arm. Nathan worked quickly, assembling the nebulizer and helping Sophie position the mask. As the medication began flowing, he watched her breathing gradually ease, counting the respirations, monitoring her oxygen levels with practiced precision. He had not noticed Victoria following him into the school until she spoke from the doorway. "Is she going to be okay?" Nathan glanced back, surprised. "Yes, the nebulizer treatment should help. Thank you for the ride." Victoria stepped closer, watching Sophie with an expression Nathan could not quite read. There was something raw in her eyes, something that spoke of old pain. "She looks like a fighter, she is." Nathan smiled at his daughter, brushing her blonde hair back from her forehead. "Toughest kid I know." Sophie's breathing had improved enough that she pulled the mask aside slightly. "Dad, who's the pretty lady?" "This is Miss Sterling. She helped Daddy get here quickly." Nathan turned to Victoria. "I'm Nathan Rivers, by the way. I don't think we actually introduced ourselves during our friendly traffic accident." "Victoria Sterling," she offered a slight smile. "And I believe we can agree it was a mutual failure to stop for a yellow light." Seeds of change after 20 minutes. Sophie's breathing had returned to normal. The school nurse checked her vitals and agreed she could go home to rest. Nathan gathered their things, acutely aware that he had no vehicle and no idea how to get home. Victoria solved the problem before he could voice it. "My driver is outside. He'll take you both home." "You called a driver?" Nathan lifted Sophie into his arms, his daughter resting her head on his shoulder. "I called my assistant. She handled it." Victoria walked with them toward the exit. "I also took the liberty of having your truck towed to Mitchell's auto shop on 5th Street. They're the best in the city, and they're expecting you." Nathan stopped walking. "How much is all this going to cost me? Consider it handled. The accident was as much my fault as yours." Victoria's expression suggested she was not accustomed to having her generosity questioned. "I don't take handouts." Nathan's voice was firm, despite Sophie's weight in his arms. Victoria studied him for a long moment. This proud man in his worn paramedic uniform, holding his daughter with such fierce protectiveness. She recognized something in him, perhaps, an echo of her own determination to never depend on anyone. "Then consider it a loan," she said finally. "Pay me back when you can, or don't. I'm not particularly concerned about the cost of an auto repair." Before Nathan could argue further, a black luxury sedan pulled up. Victoria opened the back door, and Nathan carefully settled Sophie inside. He was about to climb in when Victoria handed him a business card. "Victoria Sterling, Chief Executive Officer, Sterling Medical Technologies," he read aloud. Then looked up at her with new understanding. "You're that Victoria Sterling? The youngest self-made billionaire in Chicago?" "That's what the magazines say." Victoria's tone was dry. "Call my office on Monday. I'd like to discuss something with you."
"Discuss what?"
"A proposition. One that might benefit both of us."
Ow.
Victoria's gray eyes held his, and Nathan felt something shift in the air between them, some recognition he could not name. "Bring Sophie if you need to. My office is child-friendly." Nathan climbed into the car, still processing everything that had happened in the last hour. As the sedan pulled away, he looked back to see Victoria standing on the sidewalk, her silhouette, framed by the afternoon sun, watching them leave with an expression he would spend the weekend trying to decipher. Sophie stirred against him. "Dad, is Miss Sterling going to be your friend?" Nathan hugged his daughter closer. "I don't know, sweetheart. I honestly don't know." But something told him his life had just collided with more than a silver Tesla. Something told him that Victoria Sterling was about to change everything. Nathan stared at Victoria Sterling's business card for the 20th time since Saturday. The elegant cardstock felt substantial between his fingers, much like everything associated with the woman who had disrupted his carefully balanced life. He had spent the weekend researching Sterling Medical Technologies, discovering that Victoria's company specialized in developing affordable medical devices for underserved communities. Her personal story was harder to find, buried beneath layers of business achievements and corporate press releases. Sophie sat at their small kitchen table, coloring a picture of the nice lady who had helped them. She had talked about Victoria constantly since Friday, asking when they would see her again. Nathan had deflected the questions, unsure how to explain that billionaires did not typically maintain friendships with struggling paramedics. His phone rang at exactly 9 o'clock Monday morning. The number on the screen matched the one printed on Victoria's card. "Nathan Rivers," he answered, his heart rate inexplicably elevated. "Nathan, this is Victoria Sterling." "Ah, I hope I'm not calling too early." Her voice carried the same confident clarity he remembered from their accident scene confrontation. "Not at all. I'm actually off shift today." Nathan walked to the window, watching cars pass on the street below their modest apartment. "I've been meaning to call about the truck repairs. The truck is finished. Mitchell texted me this morning, but that's not why I'm calling." Victoria paused, and Nathan could hear papers rustling in the background. "How is Sophie feeling?" The question surprised him with its genuine concern. "Better. The treatment helped a lot." "Thank you again for getting us there so quickly. I'm glad to hear it." "Nathan, I'd like to discuss something important with you. Can you come to my office this afternoon?" 2 o'clock? Nathan glanced at Sophie, who was watching him with curious eyes. "Will this take long?" "I'd need to bring Sophie with me." "Bring her. In fact, I'd prefer if you did." Victoria's tone softened slightly. "There's someone I'd like her to meet. Sterling Medical Technologies, the Sterling Medical Technologies building. Rose 40 stories above downtown Chicago, its glass and steel exterior reflecting the afternoon clouds." Nathan held Sophie's hand as they entered the lobby, both of them feeling distinctly out of place among the well-dressed professionals moving with purposeful efficiency. A receptionist with a warm smile directed them to the executive elevator. "Miss Sterling is expecting you on the 38th floor." The elevator opened directly into a reception area that looked more like a modern art gallery than a corporate office. Floor-to-ceiling windows offered breathtaking views of Lake Michigan. Sophie pressed her nose against the glass, momentarily forgetting her shyness. Victoria emerged from a nearby conference room, dressed in a navy suit that somehow made her look both powerful and approachable. Her face brightened when she saw Sophie. "Hello, Sophie. I'm so happy to see you looking healthier." Sophie smiled, hiding slightly behind Nathan's leg. "Thank you for helping my dad get to me. You're very welcome. Victoria knelt down to Sophie's eye level, her expression gentle. I have someone special I'd like you to meet. His name's Dr. Peterson, and he's very good at helping children who have trouble breathing. Would that be okay? Nathan's protective instincts flared immediately. Victoria, what is this? Victoria stood, meeting his concerned gaze directly. Dr. James Peterson is the leading pediatric pulmonologist in the Midwest. He's here today consulting with our research team, and he's agreed to examine Sophie. No charge, no obligations. I can't accept that. Nathan's voice was firm, despite the hope blooming in his chest. Sophie needed exactly this kind of specialist, the kind with a 6-month waiting list and fees that would drain his savings account. You can, and you will. Victoria's tone left no room for argument. Your daughter deserves the best medical care available. Let me provide that for her. Sophie tugged on Nathan's hand. Dad, can the doctor help me breathe better? Nathan looked down at his daughter's hopeful face, then back at Victoria's determined expression. Pride warred with paternal responsibility, and responsibility won. Okay, but we're discussing payment arrangements afterward. The examination Dr. Peterson was a kind-faced man in his 50s who immediately put Sophie at ease with gentle humor and a puppet that lived in his stethoscope case. Nathan watched as the doctor conducted a thorough examination in a private medical suite that Sterling Medical Technologies maintained for testing their devices. Victoria stood beside Nathan, both of them silent as Dr. Peterson listened to Sophie's lungs, checked her oxygen saturation, and asked detailed questions about her symptoms. The doctor's expression grew more serious as the examination progressed. After 30 minutes, Dr. Peterson asked to speak with Nathan privately. They moved to an adjacent office while a nurse stayed with Sophie, showing her different medical devices designed to look like toys. Your daughter has severe persistent asthma, Doctor. Peterson began, his tone professional but compassionate. Her current treatment plan is inadequate for the severity of her condition. She needs a combination of daily controller medications, a better rescue inhaler, and I'd recommend allergy testing to identify triggers. Nathan felt his stomach tighten. How much are we talking about? Medications alone would run about $400 monthly without insurance coverage. With your insurance, probably $200 out of pocket. Dr. Peterson glanced at Victoria, who stood near the window. However, Ms. Sterling has offered to cover all costs through the Sterling Medical Foundation's Patient Assistance Program. Of course she has. Nathan's voice came out more bitter than intended. Victoria turned from the window. The foundation exists specifically for situations like this. You're not receiving special treatment. Any family in need can apply, but they'd have to apply. Go through paperwork, wait for approval. Nathan met her gaze. You're just handing this to me. Yes. Victoria did not look away. Because I can, and because Sophie needs it now, not after months of bureaucratic processing. Shared wounds due. Peterson excused himself to write prescriptions, leaving Nathan and Victoria alone in the office. The silence stretched between them, heavy with unspoken tensions. Why are you doing this? Nathan finally asked. You don't know us. We crashed into each other 3 days ago. Victoria walked to a bookshelf, her fingers trailing across the spines of medical texts. I had a sister, Caroline. She was diagnosed with cystic fibrosis when she was 4. Nathan's anger softened into understanding. Had she died when she was 9? We had money, resources, the best doctors in the country. None of it mattered. Victoria's voice remained steady, but Nathan could hear the old grief beneath the words. I watched my parents exhaust every option, spend fortunes on treatments, pray for miracles. In the end, we lost her anyway. I'm sorry. Nathan moved closer, drawn by the pain in her voice. After Carolyn died, I promised myself that if I ever had the means, I would help families facing what we faced. Sterling Medical Technology started in my college dorm room with a single goal: make medical care accessible to everyone. Victoria turned to face him, and Nathan saw moisture in her eyes that she refused to let fall. When I saw you with Sophie on Friday, saw that same fear in your eyes that I remember in my father's, I couldn't walk away. Nathan understood now. This was not about charity or pity. This was about Victoria fighting a battle she had lost once before, trying to save someone else's Caroline. Thank you, he said quietly. For Sophie? For understanding what it's like to feel helpless while your child struggles to breathe. Victoria nodded, composing herself with visible effort. There's something else I want to discuss. A position at Sterling Medical Technologies. It's an unexpected proposition. You want to hire me? Nathan could not hide his surprise. As what? I'm a paramedic, not a tech developer. I want to hire you as the Director of Community Outreach for our Medical Devices Division. Victoria's business demeanor returned, though something warmer lingered in her eyes. Your real-world emergency medical experience is exactly what we need. Our team develops incredible technology, but they don't always understand how it functions in actual crisis situations. Nathan shook his head. I don't have any corporate experience. I wouldn't even know where to start. You'd start by doing what you do best, caring for people and understanding their needs. Victoria pulled a folder from her desk. The position pays $90,000 annually with full medical benefits that would cover all of Sophie's treatments. 9 to 5, Monday through Friday. No more overnight shifts. No more choosing between sleep and spending time with your daughter. The offer was everything Nathan needed, almost suspiciously perfect. What's the real reason you're offering me this job? Victoria met his gaze steadily. Because I think you'd be excellent at it. Because I watched you save your daughter with calm efficiency, while most fathers would have panicked. Because I need someone who understands that medical technology should serve real people, not just generate profit margins. Because you feel guilty about the accident. That too, Victoria admitted. Though if I were simply trying to assuage guilt, I'd just pay for Sophie's medications and be done with it. This is a legitimate job offer based on skills I believe you possess. Nathan looked through the office window to where Sophie was laughing at something the nurse had said. His daughter deserved stability, consistent health care, a father who came home at reasonable hours. His pride could not compete with her needs. When would I start? He asked. Victoria's smile transformed her face, revealing a warmth he had not seen before. How about next Monday? That gives you time to give notice at the hospital. Building bridges as Nathan and Sophie prepared to leave, Victoria walked them to the elevator. Sophie clutched a stuffed bear the nurse had given her, already chattering about telling her friends about the nice doctor. Nathan, Victoria said as the elevator doors opened. Thank you for trusting me with Sophie's care. I know it wasn't easy. Thank you for seeing us, Nathan replied. For really seeing us not just as a problem to solve? Their eyes held for a moment longer than necessary, and Nathan felt that same inexplicable connection from Friday. Something was shifting between them, something that went beyond gratitude or professional courtesy. Sophie tugged Victoria's hand. Will you come visit us sometime? Dad makes really good pancakes. Victoria laughed, a genuine sound that softened her usual composed exterior. I'd like that very much. As the elevator descended, Nathan realized his life had changed direction completely in less than a week. He had collided with Victoria Sterling, and somehow that collision was building a bridge between two very different worlds. Where that bridge would lead, he could not yet see. But for the first time in years, Nathan felt hope blooming in his chest alongside something. That might have been the beginning of love. 6 weeks had passed since Nathan Rivers walked through the doors of Sterling Medical Technologies as its new Director of Community Outreach. The transition from emergency response vehicles to executive boardrooms had been challenging. But Nathan discovered that connecting medical technology with real human needs came naturally to him. His presentations to the development team always included stories from his paramedic years, grounding their innovations in actual life-saving scenarios. Sophie's transformation had been even more remarkable. With Dr. Peterson's treatment plan and the medications covered by Sterling's insurance, her asthma attacks had decreased dramatically. She slept through entire nights now, her breathing steady and peaceful. Nathan would sometimes stand at her bedroom door, listening to those calm breaths. Feeling gratitude so intense, it brought tears to his eyes. What surprised Nathan most was how seamlessly Victoria had woven herself into their lives. She attended Sophie's school concert, sitting beside Nathan in the cramped auditorium. She brought Sophie books about strong women in science. She remembered that Nathan took his coffee black with 1 sugar. These small gestures accumulated into something Nathan was afraid to name. This particular Thursday morning found Nathan in Victoria's office, presenting his proposal for a mobile medical response program. The plan would equip ambulances in underserved neighborhoods with Sterling's latest diagnostic devices. Giving paramedics better tools to save lives, the initial cost is significant, Nathan concluded, sliding the budget across Victoria's desk. But the impact on emergency response times and patient outcomes would be substantial. Victoria studied the numbers, her expression thoughtful. Over the weeks, Nathan had learned to read the subtle shifts in her features. Right now, she was impressed, but considering complications he had not anticipated. The board will challenge this, she said finally. They'll want data proving return on investment. Some things can't be measured in profit margins, Nathan replied, his passion for the project evident. Every life saved has value beyond quarterly earnings. Victoria smiled, that warm expression that transformed her entire face. I agree completely, which is why I'm approving it despite what the board will say. The Sterling Medical Technologies cafeteria buzzed with the usual lunchtime energy. Nathan sat with Jennifer Chen and Marcus Williams, two colleagues from the product development team who had welcomed him despite his unconventional background. So when are you going to admit you're in love with her? Jennifer asked, sipping her green tea with a knowing smile. Nathan nearly choked on his sandwich. What are you talking about? Please. The entire office sees how you two look at each other. Marcus leaned back in his chair. The question is whether you're brave enough to do anything about it. She's my boss. It would be completely inappropriate. Nathan kept his voice low, aware of curious ears nearby. She's also a woman who lights up every time you walk into a room, Jennifer pointed out. I've worked here 5 years. I've never seen Victoria like this with anyone. Before Nathan could respond, a voice interrupted from behind him. Enjoying your lunch, Rivers? Nathan turned to see Gerald Hartman, one of Sterling's senior board members, standing with 2 other executives. Hartman's expression carried barely concealed disdain. The cafeteria food is excellent, Nathan replied evenly, recognizing the challenge beneath the polite words. I'm sure it's quite an upgrade from what you're accustomed to. Hartman's smile did not reach his eyes. Tell me, how exactly does a paramedic qualify to direct a multi-million-dollar division? The nearby conversations quieted. Nathan felt Jennifer and Marcus tense beside him. I qualify by understanding the people our technology serves, Nathan said, standing to meet Hartman's gaze directly. Something that seems lost in spreadsheets and profit projections. Hartman's expression hardened. Sterling's charitable. Impulses are admirable, but this company succeeds through competence, not sympathy hires. Nathan earned his position through merit. Victoria's voice cut through the tension like steel. She stood at the cafeteria entrance, her posture radiating controlled anger. If you have concerns about personnel decisions, Gerald, we can discuss them in my office. Not in public where you embarrass yourself, in this company. Hartman's face flushed, but he managed a tight nod before walking away with his companions. The cafeteria slowly resumed its normal noise level. Victoria approached Nathan's table, her professional mask slipping to reveal genuine concern. Are you okay? I'm fine. I've handled worse in emergency rooms. Nathan tried to downplay the encounter, but his hands were clenched beneath the table. Walk with me, Victoria said quietly. It was not quite a request. Truths spoken, they ended. Up on the building's rooftop garden, a green sanctuary above the city's concrete sprawl, Victoria paced along the pathway, her heels clicking against the stone tiles. Hartman represents old thinking, she said finally. He believes success only comes from Ivy League degrees and family connections. He doesn't understand that real innovation comes from diverse perspectives. He's not wrong that I'm underqualified on paper, Nathan admitted, leaning against the railing overlooking the city. Sometimes I wonder if I belong here. Victoria stopped pacing and turned to face him, her gray eyes intense. You belong here more than half the people in that building. You bring humanity to technology. You remind us why we do this work. Is that the only reason you hired me? The question emerged before Nathan could stop it. Because I remind you of your lost sister. Because helping me eases some old guilt? Victoria flinched as if struck. For a moment, Nathan regretted his harsh words. Then she moved closer, close enough that he could smell her subtle perfume. I hired you because you're brilliant at what you do, she said, her voice low and fierce. I keep you around because you make me laugh. You challenge me. You see past the billionaire CEO to the person underneath. She paused, vulnerability flickering across her features. And if I'm being completely honest, it's because I'm falling in love with you. Nathan's breath caught. The city noise faded, leaving only Victoria's words echoing in the space between them. I know it's complicated, Victoria continued, her usual confidence wavering. I'm your boss. The power dynamic is problematic. I come from completely different worlds. But Nathan, I can't stop thinking about you, about Sophie, about the life we could build together. Nathan reached out, his hand cupping her face gently. You think I haven't been fighting the same feelings? Every time you smile at something, Sophie. It says every time you defend my work to the board, every time you bring me coffee exactly how I like it, I fall a little harder. So what do we do about it? Victoria's voice was barely above a whisper. We stop pretending this isn't happening. Nathan leaned closer, his forehead resting against hers. We acknowledge that sometimes the best things in life come from unexpected collisions. Their kiss was gentle at first, tentative, as if testing whether this fragile thing between them could survive in the real world. Then Victoria's arms wrapped around his neck, and Nathan pulled her closer, and the kiss deepened into something that promised forevers. When they finally pulled apart, both slightly breathless, Victoria laughed softly. The office gossip is going to explode. Let it, Nathan smiled, tucking a strand of hair behind her ear. I'm done hiding how I feel about you. Family Foundations. Evening, Victoria joined Nathan and Sophie for dinner at their apartment. It was nothing fancy, just pasta and salad, but Sophie was thrilled to have her favorite person visiting. Miss Victoria, will you read me a bedtime story? Sophie asked after dinner, her eyes hopeful. Victoria glanced at Nathan, who nodded encouragingly. I'd love to, sweetheart. Later, after Sophie had fallen asleep with Victoria's voice still echoing through her dreams, Nathan and Victoria sat on the small balcony overlooking the street. The city lights twinkled like earthbound stars. She adores you, Nathan said, holding Victoria's hand. Sometimes I think she loves you even more than she loves me. Possible. You're her hero. Victoria leaned her head on his shoulder. But I love her too. She's remarkable, Nathan. Brave and funny, and so full of life. She asked me this morning if you were going to be her new mom. Nathan felt Victoria tense slightly. I told her we were taking things slow, but that I hoped someday you might be. Victoria lifted her head to look at him, moonlight reflecting in her eyes. Someday soon, I hope. I never thought I'd want a family after Caroline died. The pain of losing her made me afraid to love like that again. But you and Sophie, you've shown me that love is worth the risk. Nathan kissed her forehead. We're a package deal, you know. One struggling paramedic and his asthmatic daughter. Former paramedic, current director of community outreach. Victoria smiled. And I wouldn't have it any other way. You two crashed into my perfect, controlled, lonely life and made it beautiful. We literally crashed into you, Nathan laughed. Best accident I ever had. Victoria kissed him again, soft and sweet and full of promise. The path forward 3 months later. Nathan stood beside Victoria at a ribbon-cutting ceremony for the Mobile Medical Response Program. News cameras captured the moment as the first specially equipped ambulance rolled out, carrying technology that would save countless lives in underserved communities. Sophie stood between them, holding both their hands, her breathing steady and strong. Dr. Peterson had declared her asthma well controlled. Though they maintained her treatment plan carefully, this program represents what sterling medical technology stands for, Victoria told the gathered crowd. Innovation that serves humanity, technology that saves lives, and the belief that everyone deserves access to excellent medical care regardless of their economic circumstances. Nathan squeezed her hand, pride and love swelling in his chest. This woman had taken his broken-down truck, his struggling daughter, his desperate situation, and transformed it all into something beautiful. She had not rescued him. She had walked beside him, building a bridge between their different worlds, until those worlds merged into one shared future. That evening, in Victoria's penthouse apartment that was slowly filling with Sophie's artwork and Nathan's medical journals, they celebrated with takeout pizza and sparkling cider. I have something to ask you both, Victoria said, setting down her glass. She looked nervous, an expression Nathan rarely saw on her confident face. Sophie bounced excitedly. "Are you going to ask what I think you're going to ask?" Victoria laughed, pulling out a small velvet box. Inside were 2 rings, one with a diamond, one with a tiny sapphire. "Nathan Rivers, will you marry me?" "And Sophie, will you let me be your mom?" Sophie squealed, throwing her arms around Victoria. "Yes, yes, yes." Nathan blinked back tears, taking the ring with shaking hands. "You beat me to it. I was planning to propose next week. I'm a CEO. I'm used to making the first move." Victoria's eyes shimmered with happy tears. "Is that a yes?" "That's a yes." Nathan slipped the ring on her finger, then pulled both his girls into his arms. 2 unexpected collisions and the love they bring. Outside, the Chicago skyline glittered against the darkening sky. Somewhere in that city, other lives were colliding, other stories beginning. But in this moment, in this embrace, Nathan knew he had found his home. Not in a place, but in the hearts of the 2 people he loved most in the world. Sometimes the worst accidents lead to the best destinations. Sometimes lightning does strike twice. And sometimes love finds you exactly when you stop looking for it. Arriving in a silver Tesla with a determined billionaire who sees past your struggles to the man you truly are, Nathan kissed Victoria as Sophie giggled between them. And he knew with absolute certainty that he had crashed into his happily ever after. The end.